Warning: the following fanfic reading is for mature audiences only. It contains mature subjects such as grief, death of loved ones, discrimination, alcoholism, and gore. Viewers' discretion is advised. The Legend of Spike, Discord's Mask, written by Diablo Guapo. Chapter 6, Anger Cycle, Day 2. Dawn of the second day. 48 hours remaining. Spike couldn't sleep. Perhaps it was the rush from the blue potion he drank the day before. Perhaps he was nervous about going on a rescue mission. Perhaps he didn't know how he'd react to seeing her. Whatever the reason was, the dragon was wide awake, sitting on a chair in a zebra's hut. Matilda was asleep on the herbalist's bed. The donkey was reluctant to deprive Zecora of her bed, but she insisted that the older donkey take it, choosing to be a generous host and accommodate her guest. Zecora had slept on a rug on the floor, but she had awoken and was packing a few supplies. The dragon and zebra left the hut silently so as to not wake Matilda. Nearby the hut was a boat. Normally, the forest did have a few streams and rivers flowing through it, and Zecora would use them to navigate through the forest. Now, the forest had become an accursed swamp filled with evil. Spike sat in the boat as Zecora rowed them towards the palace of Prince Blueblood.
The prince has become hostile to any from the outside. He will surely judge you for your scaly hide.
What she meant was that he would have a hard time getting in as a dragon, but maybe as a unicorn.
I got an idea! I'll call upon the power of the unicorn mask to disguise myself.
You have a mask that allows one to shapeshift? You are fortunate to have such a rare gift.
Spike concentrated and called to the spirit within him.
Are you there?
Yes! Let's do this!
Spike felt like he was bucked in the chest, and the wind was knocked out of him. Again, he felt his bones bend and shift under his skin, which felt like it was on fire. Fur replaced scales, claws compacted into hooves, spines became a mane, and a horn grew out of his forehead. Spike panted as the transformation was completed. He rose again to his hooves, his legs shaking as he did so.
Well, at least I can get in now.
Spike, are you alright? Your change gave me a fright.
I'm okay, Zecora. Is it going to be this painful every time?
I imagine so, but it's better this way.
Yeah, we'll have better luck sneaking in like this rather than as a dragon.
Actually, I'm from the palace, but it's better that they don't recognize me. Us.
Huh?
This information confused Spike.
What do you mean? You're from the palace, but they won't recognize the shape? Who are you?
He felt a bit of sadness radiate from the spirit.
I'll explain later. We're here.
Looking up from the waters, Spike noticed that they had arrived at the castle. It was sitting on an island in the middle of the moat, and Spike assumed that there was a moat somewhere within the depths of the foul swamp. The pair tied the boat to a dock and approached the main gate. On either side of the palace's gate were 2 guards. They looked just as intimidating as the ones in Clocktown. Spike could already tell that this wasn't going to be pleasant. As the colt and zebra approached the gate, the guards blocked the way with spears.
Halt! This is the palace of His Royal Majesty, Prince Blueblood. Only those with official business may enter.
The guards looked down at Spike.
However, you may go see the sentencing of the criminal.
They moved their spears out of the way to permit Spike to enter. Spike walked past the guards, and Zecora followed, but the spears came down in front of her face, nearly cutting her. She gave a startled gasp and hopped back from the guards.
Foreign filth such as yourself is unwelcomed in the noble home of the unicorns.
Zecora glared at the prejudiced unicorns and turned to head back to her boat.
Zecora, wait!
Spike called to her, and then turned to the guards.
Zebras, mules, donkey,
earth ponies, pegasi, and all other forms of riffraff are not welcomed here. By order of His Royal Highness, Prince Blueblood.
It is fine, Spike, for the hospitality of the sire is as pleasant as this misery mire.
She then pulled something from her cloak.
To go alone is dangerous.
She tossed it to Spike, and when he caught it, he saw it was a flask.
Take this.
Spike uncorked the flask and saw it was filled with the blue potion that Matilda used to restore Zecora's health.
Thank you, Zecora.
He headed through the gate as she returned to her boat. The gate led to a courtyard and then to the palace itself. Spike approached the palace doors and was stopped again by more guards.
Listen, you go through these doors and head straight down the hall to the princess throne room. Don't go anywhere else or you'll be in big trouble. Got it?
Spike shrank a bit from the overbearing guard, but he nodded and the guard opened the door for him with his magic. Spike entered the palace and was baffled by what he saw.
Oh, for the love of Celestia.
He muttered in exasperation as he face-hoofed. The hall was filled with the image of Prince Blueblood. Statues of the egocentric prince lined both sides of the carpet that led the way to the throne room. Each of them were posed in a dramatic stance. The walls were covered in paintings of the unicorn. Each of them were more ridiculous than the last. One was a portrait of him dramatically looking over his shoulder, pouting his lips. Another was of him flexing his overly exaggerated muscles. Another had him lying on a bed that was covered in rose petals in a romantic pose, grinning with a rose in between his teeth. Spike suppressed the urge to vomit. The next painting made his blood boil. It was Blueblood standing triumphantly over the corpse of a mighty dragon. The dragon had its tongue lolled out dramatically. Blueblood had one hoof on top of the fallen dragon's head and a lance in the other. Spike really wanted to vomit at the next one. Prince Blueblood was sitting on a grand throne with an elaborate crown upon his brow. He held a golden scepter in his hoof. He wore a majestic cape and regal suit with many medals pinned on it. But that wasn't the worst part. Oh no! It didn't come close. Rarity was at his hoofs, scantily clad in only a sheet, while she clung to his hind leg with a wanton look of desire on her face.
That's it. I'm torching the place.
Focus! Remember the mission. You got to say Rarity and Sweetie Belle and clear Cranky's name.
And then can I torch the place?
Yeah. And then you can torch the place.
Spike made his way past the revolting images to the throne room. The door stallion ushered him in, saying,
Hurry! The sentencing is about to begin!
When was the trial?
Trial? His Majesty doesn't bother with such pointless things as that!
Spike was astounded by the harshness of the law in the unicorn's domain. He took a seat with the rest of the audience. The throne was vacant, but a familiar mirror stood by it. It was Twilight Sparkle. She cleared her throat to gain the attention of the court.
All rise for the honorable and noble Prince of the Unicorns, Blue Blood.
The pompous prince entered with the cheesiest grin imaginable and took his seat on the throne.
Oh, thank you, Counselor Sparkle,
he said as she rolled her eyes and shook her head disapprovingly behind his back. Her eyes scanned the audience, but stopped when she saw Spike. As the two gazed at each other, her eyes widened and her mouth opened a little.
Counselor, proceed.
She shook herself a bit and continued.
Bring out the condemned.
At her word, 2 guards dragged out a bald, older donkey. He was covered in chains and locks and was forced into a chair.
Cranky Doodle Donkey, you have been found guilty of full-napping the Lady Rarity and the Lady Sweetie Belle.
I didn't full-nap any pony, you imbecilic bastard!
Ranted Cranky, rattling his chains as he squirmed in his seat.
I told you they wanted to investigate the strange things that were happening in the temple, and they asked me to row them there. The entrance became locked, and I came back for help.
Silence! I won't listen to any more of this foolishness. I'll give you one more chance. Tell us where you're hiding my fiancée and her sister, and I will lessen your punishment!
I told you they're in the temple, you moron!
Enough! Bring out the Wheel of Punishment!
Yeah!
Punishment! Punishment!
Punishment!
The unicorns cheered in savage delight as a large circular board with a spinner in it was brought out. Spike read the various punishments listed. Eaten by Hydra, thrown in the pit of spikes, staring contest with the cockatrice, placed in a compactor, locked in the Timberwolf's den, sacrificed to the Ursa Major, skinned alive, community service, or boiled in oil. Blue Blood's horn glowed as he used his magic to activate the spinner. As it went whirling around the board, the audience cheered.
Punishment!
Please say he's guilty!
Punishment!
Pretzels, get your free pretzels here. One all, come all, for another slaughtering of another citizen.
Hydra! Give him the Hydra!
Throw him into a pit of spikes!
Come on, Compactor!
Impale him on a spike!
Sacrifice him to Big Blue!
Skin him alive!
Yeah! Skin him! Burn that no-good meal in the beer-nut oil!
Put him down like the mule he is!
Hell no! Kill it slow in the Iron Maiden!
Community service. Please be community service.
The spinner began to slow down, and the crowd drew in a breath in anticipation. The spinner came to rest near the border of the 2 punishments, but it barely favored one over the other. Community service.
Come on! This is bullshit! Why do we even have community service on it?
Are you kidding me?
Whistling nonchalantly, Blue Blood used his magic to move the spinner while no pony was looking.
Looks like it's boiled in oil!
Looks like the Colonel's hay fries have got company!
Prince Blue Blood announced, and the crowd cheered. Cranky and Spike's mouths hit the floor.
Tomorrow at sunset, you will pay for your crime. Guards, take him away.
You can't do this!
Cranky protested as he was dragged away.
I'm telling you, they're in the temple! We're in the temple!
You heard him! Out! Out, 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 out! Out!
The court was dismissed, and the unicorns in attendance were ushered out. Spike was led through the exit of the throne room by the guards. A voice spoke to them.
Guards, bring him here.
Spike turned and saw Twilight Sparkle standing outside the door.
Yes, Counselor Sparkle.
The guards said as they nudged Spike over to the lavender unicorn.
I'll take it from here. That will be all.
She dismissed the guards. They saluted and returned to ushering the crowd out of the palace.
Right,
Alright,
pony,
show's
trial's
over, everyone.
Go on home.
Come on.
Nothing to
Come
see
on.
here. Move along, move
You
along.
don't have to go home, but you can't
Hey,
stay
you.
here. Yeah,
Yes,
hey,
you.
Hey,
move along,
don't
sir.
look at me
move
like
it.
that.
Or
Keep
it's
moving.
14
Keep
days
going.
in the
Keep
dungeons.
Going. Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Right,
thank
every
you.
pony,
Yes,
move
right
along.
that way.
Nothing to
Right that
see
way.
here. The
Please
trial's
vacate
over.
the premises,
Go on home.
every pony.
Move along.
Please vacate
move
the
along.
premises.
Move along.
The two looked at each other, not saying a word. Twilight's eyes looked up and down Spike's body and said in a hushed voice,
Who are you?
I'm
Spike began to answer, but the voice in his head stopped him.
Don't tell her! Make something up!
Pipsqueak.
You look so much like... Why are you here? Be honest with me.
I've been sent by Matilda the donkey to find Lady Rarity and Lady Sweetiebelle, and to prove Cranky's innocence.
Is that so?
Twilight looked around to check if they were being listened to.
I can help you.
You can?
Yes, I don't believe that he's responsible at all. I've tried to convince the prince to send ponies to investigate the temple, but for some reason, he refuses. I also tried to point out the fact that the forest has been cursed and that maybe there is a reason to investigate the temple.
What can we do about it?
I'll lead you to the dungeons. Maybe you can get more information from Cranky. I wish I could join you, but Prince Blueblood will get suspicious if I don't report to him soon.
Twilight led Spike down a hall, checking the corners to avoid being seen accompanying a commoner in the castle. After waiting for a guard to turn a corner, they rushed to the door to the dungeon.
I'm afraid that I can't take you any further. Prince Blueblood is expecting and I'm already late as it is.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just be careful not to be seen by the guards.
Spike opened the door and climbed down the stairs to the dungeon. It was obviously more drab and dismal compared to the rest of the palace. It was barely lit enough to be seen by torches that hung on the wall. Spike proceeded with caution, for he could hear the sound of footsteps from the guards echoing through the corridors. He came to a corner and saw a guard patrolling a corridor. The guard's horn was glowing like a searchlight as he panned up and down the corridor. Seeing his chance, Spike sprinted across the corridor to the next one. He looked back to see if the guard had noticed. The guard continued to walk down the corridor, oblivious to the intruder's presence. Spike let out a sigh of relief and turned around to see another guard. Spike covered his mouth with his hooves to hold in a gasp, but relaxed when he noticed that the guard was facing the other way. Spike snuck up behind him and waited for the guard to move on. When the guard moved on, Spike quietly tiptoed behind the guard to the next corridor, cautiously peering around the corner, and found the corridor was empty. He could see donkey hooves protruding from the cell bars at the end of the corridor. Spike ran over to them and saw Cranky.
Who?
Cranky nodded and continued in a whisper.
Who are you?
Matilda sent me.
Matilda?
Yes, she told me what's going on, and I'm here to help.
Thanks, kid. But the only way to help me is to save Lady Rarity and Lady Sweetiebelle. That idiot won't listen to what anyone says unless they come back.
How do I get to the temple?
My raft should still be tied up behind the castle. When they enter the temple, a glass came out of nowhere and shut the door. When I came back for help, I was arrested as soon as I came to the front gate. So maybe it's still there. Use it to head upstream. The foul water seems to be flowing from the temple, so follow the current. When you get to the temple's door, you'll have to use magic to open it. Since I'm not a unicorn, and the magic seal can only be accessed from the outside, we couldn't open it once they were locked in.
How did she open it?
There's a combination on the seal. There are 5 rows of 7 holes. Use your horn to open them in this order from left to right, with 1 being the top hole and 5 being the bottom hole. 1, 2, 1, 2, 5, 3, 5. Got it?
1, 2, 1, 2, 5, 3, 5. Okay, I got it.
Good, now go. I have less than 24 hours before they defrost. Hurry, before...
Aha!
Spike snapped his head around to see a guard coming around the corner, the light from his horn blinding the colt.
An intruder!
Oh, horse apples.
Another guard appeared, and the two levitated Spike in the air and took him out of the dungeon. They led him through the palace to 2 large doors. Inside, Prince Blueblood was reclining on a sofa, while a bunch of servant mares were levitating bowls of fruit. The mares giggled as they fed the prince, and Twilight Sparkle stood by. She was shocked to see that Spike was being brought in to the prince.
Oh, and who would this be?
He's a spy, Your Highness. We caught him in the dungeon, talking to the prisoner.
A spy? One of the donkey's conspirators, no doubt. Throw him in the dungeon.
But I was already in the dungeon.
Wait, sire, he's just a foal. Don't you think he's a little young to be a foal napper?
Perhaps you're right. What were you doing in the dungeon?
Maybe he got lost. Remember how Spike used to get lost all the time when he was little?
Grrr. I thought I made it clear not to mention him again! I don't know why I didn't make you get rid of that disgusting reptile earlier. A dragon walking around the palace. What a disgrace! To think that a brilliant mare such as yourself would keep something like that as a pet.
He wasn't a pet.
Twilight's body seemed to tremble and her bottom lip quivered.
Guards! Throw the commoner out of my palace!
They did exactly that. Next thing Spike knew, he was being hurled out of the front gate of the palace and landed face first into the dirt. Spike got up and spat out a mouthful of dirt with a gag as the guards laughed at his expense. Frustrated, the colt made his way down to the dock. Checking to see if any guards were watching, Spike followed the shoreline around the castle. Sure enough, Cranky's raft was still there. He boarded the raft and began to row upstream. Ponyville, Day 2, 2:00 a.m. Twilight was lying in her bed at her home, Golden Oaks Library. Even though she protested, Applejack suggested that she get some rest and that they'll continue the search tomorrow morning. However, she couldn't sleep. Her thoughts were consumed with worry and dread. No pony had seen her number 1 assistant all day. They looked all over Ponyville, but they found nothing. Was he lost? Did he run away? Was he hurt? Twilight got out of her bed and went to a bookcase. Maybe a book would help calm her. She pulled a random book off of the shelf and read the cover aloud.
Magical Melodies, The Art of Song Spells.
She opened to the table of contents, and one entry caught her attention.
Song of Healing.
He's a spy, Your Highness. And that would be a doorbell. Awesome. Goddamn Amazon. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Alright. Where was it? Okay.
Yes, I don't believe that he's responsible at all. I've tried to convince the prince to send ponies to investigate the temple, but for some reason, he refuses. I also tried to point out the fact that the forest has been cursed and that maybe there is a reason to investigate the temple. And there's something on the roof. Can you please leave? That'd be nice. Can you leave, please? Okay.
Perhaps you're right. What were you doing in my dungeon? You're a little too young to know all of my secrets. But seriously though, I don't want to make a bad example. Just get out. What are you doing in my dungeon? I'm just sounding like Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, what are you doing in my dungeon, Yugi boy? We're going to play a game, but not the same as you know, Yugi boy. Reach into my heart of the cards. Ugh. I thought I made it clear not to mention him again. Ugh. I don't know what. Damn it! I keep. I don't. Wait, are we missing the no part? I don't. Why? I don't. Why? I don't. Why? Me new English. I don't. Why? Oh god. I just thought this blue blood became like me smirked me caveman. Guards, throw this noob out of my palace. Yeet! Hurl him like it's a frickin' football match. None will be unyeeted by Prince Blueblood, true heir of Princess Celestia. I haunt in both your dreams and greatest nightmares. I am the yeetiest. Can't really say about Cranky, because he sentenced to death.